There is a place where Africa runs out of land and the ocean simply keeps going. 10 islands scattered like broken glass across 600 kilometers of open Atlantic. No bridges, no neighbors close enough to see, just fire, salt, and wind. Some of the world's tallest sand dunes are here. So is one of the most active volcanoes in the Atlantic. So are turtles older than most nations and songs older than memory. This is Cabo Verde, and by the end of this film, you will understand why sailors, poets, and scientists have spent 5 centuries trying and failing to describe it in one sentence. Cabo Verde, Islands of Fire and Wind. Where the islands came from. Every single rock on these islands was once liquid. To understand Cabo Verde, you have to stop thinking of it as land at all and start thinking of it as a wound in the ocean floor that never quite healed. Somewhere between 8 and 20 million years ago, a hot spot in the Earth's mantle, the same kind of geological feature that built Hawaii, began pushing magma up through the crust of the Atlantic, hundreds of kilometers off the coast of West Africa. The islands sit on a bathymetric swell known as the Cape Verde Rise, one of the largest protuberances in the world's oceans, rising over 2 kilometers from the sea floor. 10 main islands rose from that swell. 5 more became just islets, too small, too dry, or too wild for anyone to settle. Geologists will tell you the islands didn't all form at once, and the ones in the east are dramatically older than the ones in the west. That single fact explains almost everything you're about to see in this film. The eastern islands, Sal, Boa Vista, Mayo, are the old ones. Millions of years of wind and rain have worn their volcanoes down into flat, sun-beached plains and rolling dunes. The western islands, Santo Antão, Fogo, Santiago, are the young ones, geologically speaking. Their volcanoes are still sharp, their valleys still raw, carved deep by rushing water that appears maybe a handful of days a year. And one of them is still very much alive. A collapsed crater so large that people actually live inside it, growing wine grapes in volcanic soil at nearly 2,000 meters above the sea. We'll go there, but first, a word about the wind, because in Cabo Verde, the wind is almost a character of its own. That wind isn't just weather. It's the reason ships once used these islands as a resting point on the way to the Americas. It's the reason hurricanes that batter the Caribbean are literally named after this place, because so many of the Atlantic's most powerful storms are born in the warm water just south of these shores. And it's the reason that even on the driest, most sunburned island in the chain, somewhere there is a hidden valley where the wind has been quietly building a forest for 1,000 years. Santiago, the heart that never stopped beating. This is where Africa first met Europe on equal, uneasy ground, and neither side has forgotten it. Santiago is the biggest island in Cabo Verde, and it holds the capital, Praia, a city stacked in layers on top of dramatic cliffs above the Atlantic, and it's where roughly half the country's people call home. But to understand Santiago, you don't start in the capital, you start 20 minutes down the coast in a small town that changed the course of world history. Ciudad Velha was founded in the 1960s. It was the first permanent European settlement built in the tropics anywhere in the world, older than anything the Portuguese, Spanish or English would later build in the Americas. Walk through its ruined streets today and you'll find a stone pillory still standing in the town square, a physical reminder that this quiet, sun-baked town was once one of the busiest and most brutal hubs of the transatlantic slave trade. This is not just a pretty ruin, it's one of the honest places in the world, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that doesn't try to hide what happened here. Locals will tell you the town holds its history the way volcanic rock holds heat, quietly, but it's always there if you put your hand on it. But drive 20 minutes inland and the whole mood of the island changes. Santiago's interior looks nothing like its coastline. Up in the mountains around places like Serra Malagueta and the lush valley of the Asomada region, the land turns a deep, surprising green. On Santiago, terraced plantations of sugarcane and bananas grow at the base of towering mountain ranges. Farmers here have worked the same steep terraces for generations, coaxing crops out of volcanic soil using little more than hand tools and an intimate knowledge of where the clouds decide to rain. At dawn, mist rolls down these slopes like a slow tide, and for an hour or two, this arid island looks almost like a rainforest. Then the sun burns it off and Santiago goes back to being what it mostly is, dry, dramatic, and unmistakably African in its rhythm. And on the northern tip of the island, there's a beach with a memory it can't quite let go of. Tarrafal has one of the most beautiful beaches in Cabo Verde, calm, palm-fringed, postcard perfect, and directly above it sits a former political prison once used to hold opponents of colonial rule. Locals sometimes call it the camp of slow death. Today it's a museum, and the contrast is deliberate. Paradise and pain sitting on the same hillside, forcing you to hold both truths at once. That's Santiago in a single afternoon, a capital city on the edge of a cliff, a ruined town that remembers everything, green mountains that appear out of nowhere, and a beach that asks you to enjoy the sun without forgetting what came before it. Fogo, living inside a volcano. There are people right now sleeping tonight inside the mouth of an active volcano. Fogo means fire in Portuguese. It is, without much competition, the most dramatic single feature in the entire archipelago. Its active volcano rises 9,281 feet, 2,829 meters into the sky, making it the highest point in the whole country. The mountain last erupted in 2014, sending lava rolling directly through the village of Chá das Caldeiras, the community living inside the volcanic caldera. Houses were destroyed, and then, in the way that only happens in Cabo Verde, people rebuilt on the same ground, because the same volcanic soil that can destroy your home in an afternoon is also the reason your wine grapes taste like nothing else on earth. This might be the strangest vineyard on the planet.
Inside the caldera, at nearly 1700 meters above sea level, grape farmers grow grapes in pure volcanic ash. There's barely any rainfall. The vines are pruned low and gnarled, clinging to the ground like they're bracing for the next eruption. And yet the wine that comes out of this place, dark, mineral, faintly smoky, has become one of Cabo Verde's proudest exports. Standing inside that caldera, looking up at the cone that in theory could erupt again at any time, you start to understand something about the Cape Verdean spirit. This isn't recklessness, it's a very old, very practical relationship with risk, the same relationship people everywhere have had with rivers that flood, or coastlines that flood, or soil that occasionally swallows a season's harvest. You don't fight the volcano, you farm around it, and you keep half an eye on the sky. And if you're brave enough, you can climb straight to the crater's edge. The hike to the summit of Pico de Fogo is one of the toughest and most rewarded treks in West Africa. Climbers start in darkness, working up loose volcanic scree by headlamp, and arrive at the rim just as the sun breaks over the Atlantic. From up there, you can see clear across to the neighboring island of Brava, floating in the haze like a green smudge on the horizon. Few places on Earth let you stand on the rim of an active volcano and look down at people's homes, their vineyards, their goats, all thriving in what should be, by any reasonable logic, an uninhabitable place. Fogo doesn't just show you geology, it shows you stubbornness, and it shows you why that stubbornness is quietly one of the most beautiful things about this country.
Santo Antão, the green giant. This is the Cabo Verde nobody believes exists until they see it with their own eyes. If Fogo is fire, Santo Antão is everything fire eventually becomes: soil and green, and water finding its way downhill through impossible terrain. It is the second largest island in the country and hands down the most physically dramatic. Deep ravines cut through the interior like something out of a fantasy film, and roads here were literally hand-carved into cliff faces by teams of workers over generations, cobblestone by cobblestone. And somewhere above 600 meters, the clouds start doing something strange. On the northern slopes of the mountains here, geographers call them umbrias, the shaded, cloud-catching hillsides. The trade winds push moist ocean air up against the peaks, and it condenses into a near-permanent sea of cloud. This happens mostly between 600 and 1500 meters, and it turns these hillsides cool and constantly moist, in stark contrast to the dry coastline just a few kilometers away. The result is something almost nobody expects from an island this close to the Sahara Desert. That contradiction, desert island, cloud forest, all within a few hours' walk, might be the single best argument for why Santo Antão deserves far more attention than it gets. Hikers call this one of the best trekking destinations in the entire Atlantic, and once you see the trail, you'll understand why. The trek from Cova, an old volcanic crater turned farmland, down into the Paul Valley is considered one of the great hikes of West Africa. You start on the rim of an extinct volcano, walk through cool cloud forest, and descend, switchback by switchback, into a valley so lush and steep that from the air it looks like the mountain simply cracked open to let a jungle escape. By the time you reach the bottom, drenched in sweat, surrounded by banana leaves and the smell of wood smoke,
It's genuinely hard to remember you're standing on a volcanic island 400 kilometers off the coast of the Sahara Desert. That contradiction, desert island, cloud forest, all within a few hours' walk, might be the single best argument for why Santo Antão deserves far more attention than it gets. São Vicente, the soul of Cape Verdean music. If these islands have a heartbeat, you can hear it every night in this one harbor town. São Vicente is a dry, relatively flat island, and on paper, it shouldn't be the cultural capital of the country. But its city, Mindelo, built around one of the best natural harbors in the Atlantic, has been a crossroads for sailors, traders and musicians for well over a century. And that constant flow of outside influence, European, African, Brazilian, American, shaped something unmistakable: Morna. Morna is a slow, aching style of music, often compared to Portuguese fado or the blues. Its music built entirely around the Cape Verdean concept of saudade, a longing so specific to this culture that the word barely translates. It's the ache of missing home while you're still standing in it, because you know statistically that someone in your family already left. This is a nation where more people of Cape Verdean descent live abroad than actually live on the islands, and Morna is the sound of that gap. The most famous voice to ever sing it, Cesaria Evora, grew up here in Mindelo, singing barefoot in bars for sailors before eventually carrying this music to concert halls across the world. Locals still call her the Barefoot Diva. And in Mindelo, you can visit the small, unglamorous bars where she got her start, places that still fill up most nights with live music, cheap grog, and people who take singing very, very seriously. And once a year, this quiet island completely loses its mind. Every February, Mindelo hosts what's widely considered the best carnival in West Africa, a genuine, no-holds-barred explosion of costume, drums, and Brazilian-influenced samba energy that takes over the entire town for days. It's proof that this small, dry island, with barely any farmland to speak of, built its identity not around agriculture or industry, but around sound. São Vicente doesn't have Santo Antão's forests or Fogo's fire. What it has is a harbor full of boats, a stage full of singers, and a whole country's worth of longing distilled into 3-minute songs. São Nicolau, the quiet one. This is the island tourism forgot, and that might be exactly why you should go. São Nicolau doesn't have an international party scene, and it doesn't try to. It's rugged, mountainous and quiet, a place of small farming towns connected by winding roads that cling to cliff sides. The main town, Ribeira Brava, sits in a hidden valley, its pastel-colored church tower visible long before the town itself comes into view around a bend in the mountain. Up in the highlands, near the peak of Monte Gordo, you'll find something genuinely rare: dragon trees.
This particular species, with its thick trunk and umbrella-shaped canopy, is unique to the island and grows almost nowhere else on Earth. These trees can live for centuries, and standing beneath one on a foggy ridge with clouds rolling past at eye level, it's easy to believe you've wandered into a much older, much stranger version of these islands. The version that existed before farmers, before sailors, before anyone thought to name any of this at all. São Nicolau also has one very specific claim to fame. It's the birthplace of Cabo Verde's national anthem and one of its most celebrated poets. And locals here will tell you with quiet pride that this small island has punched far above its weight in shaping the country's cultural identity, even while staying almost entirely off the map for everyone else.
Sal, where the ocean turns turquoise. This is the island most people picture when they hear the words Cabo Verde, and it's the one that looks the least like the rest of the country. Sal, the name literally means salt, is flat, dry, and wind-blown. And for decades, it's been the front door most travelers use to enter Cabo Verde, which is exactly why it's so flat and exactly why its beaches stretch on uninterrupted for kilometers. The town of Santa Maria anchors the island's south end. Its long wooden pier jutting out into water so clear you can watch fish moving beneath the boards. Consistent trade winds have made this one of the best kite surfing destinations on the planet. And on any given afternoon, the bay fills with colorful kites cutting patterns across the swell. But the strangest sight on this island isn't a beach at all. It's a hole in solid rock filled with the bluest water you've ever seen. Buracona, on the island's northern tip, is a natural swimming hole carved into volcanic rock by centuries of pounding surf. At the right time of day, sunlight enters through an underwater opening and lights the pool from below in a color so saturated it looks digitally altered. Locals sometimes call it the blue eye, and once you've seen it in person, the nickname makes perfect sense. Not far away is Pedra de Lume, a genuinely bizarre landscape. An extinct volcanic crater that's been flooded with seawater and mined for salt for over a century. Visitors can float completely weightless in water so dense with minerals that swimming becomes optional, and the terraced pastel-colored crater floor looks less like an island and more like the surface of another planet. Sal isn't where you go for Cabo Verde's soul. It's where you go for Cabo Verde's sun, its wind, and, improbably for such a dry island, some of the strangest water in the entire Atlantic. Boa Vista, the Sahara that washed out to sea. Somehow, an actual desert grew on an island in the middle of the ocean. Boa Vista's dunes are so large and so genuinely desert-like that locals half-jokingly call the island a piece of the Sahara that washed out to sea. Wandering dunes stretch across parts of the island, some of them slowly migrating inland year by year, driven by the same relentless trade winds that shape everything else here. Walking barefoot across them at sunset, watching your own footprints already starting to blur behind you in the blowing sand, it's hard to believe the Atlantic Ocean is visible just past the next ridge. And every summer, this same beach becomes one of the most important nurseries on Earth. Boa Vista hosts one of the largest loggerhead sea turtle nesting populations anywhere in the world. Between roughly June and October, thousands of females haul themselves up these same beaches at night, dig deep nests in the sand, and lay clutches of eggs that have been arriving on this exact coastline for longer than the island had a name. Conservation teams patrol these beaches through the nesting season, tagging mothers, protecting nests from poachers and predators, and when hatchlings finally emerge, escorting them safely to the water. It's one of the most quietly moving things you can witness in this entire country. Dozens of tiny turtles, barely bigger than a coin, throwing themselves towards an ocean they've never seen, guided by nothing but moonlight and a few million years of instinct. Just off the coast near Sar Rey, the rusted wreck of the Cabo Santa Maria, a cargo ship that ran aground decades ago, still sits half-submerged, slowly being swallowed by the surf. It's become an accidental landmark, one more reminder that these are still, at heart, working islands surrounded by a genuinely unpredictable ocean. Boa Vista is proof that in Cabo Verde, desert and wildlife sanctuary aren't opposites. They're often the exact same stretch of sand.
Mayo, the island that stayed small on purpose. This might be the last quiet beach left in the entire archipelago. Mayo rarely makes anyone's list, and that's precisely its appeal. This southern island has beautiful white beaches, but almost none of the infrastructure that's transformed Sal and Boa Vista into resort destinations. Its capital, Villa do Maio, known locally as Porto Inglês, is a modest cluster of colorful houses around a small harbor where fishermen still bring in the day's catch by hand. Like Sal, Maio has its own salt pans, worked on a much smaller scale, and its own gently rolling desert-like terrain, dotted with acacia trees that somehow survive on almost no rainfall at all. Salt has historically been extracted here through evaporation, a slow, patient process that mirrors the pace of the island itself. There's very little to do in Mayo in the conventional travel brochure sense, and that's exactly the point. People come here to do nothing on a beach that stretches for kilometers without another human being in sight, to eat freshly grilled fish that was swimming an hour earlier, and to fall asleep to a silence that's become genuinely rare anywhere near the Atlantic coast. Brava, the Flower Island. The smallest inhabited island in the country might also be the prettiest. Brava, the name means wild or sometimes brave, is the smallest of Cabo Verde's inhabited islands, and locals affectionately call it the Ilha das Flores, the Island of Flowers. Its capital, Nova Sintra, sits high above the coast, cool and misty, its narrow streets lined with hibiscus, bougainvillea, and jacaranda that bloom in bursts of purple and red against whitewashed colonial buildings. Brava has no airport,
and until recently, the only way to reach it was by boat across sometimes rough water from Fogo. A journey that, depending on the season, can feel less like a ferry ride and more like an initiation. That isolation has kept the island's pace almost impossibly slow. Farmers still work terraced hillside gardens by hand. Whales pass close to shore during migration season, visible from cliffside viewpoints without a boat at all. For a country that already moves at its own unhurried rhythm, Brava manages to be the slowest note in the entire song. Small, green, and quietly convinced that it doesn't need to prove anything to anyone.
Santa Lucia and the wild islets. And then there's the island where nobody's allowed to live at all. Santa Lucia is the only one of Cabo Verde's 10 main islands that has no permanent population. Along with the tiny islets of Branco and Raso nearby, it's been protected as a nature reserve. And the reasoning is simple. Some things in this archipelago survived precisely because humans never got around to settling here. The islet of Raso is home to the Raso lark, a bird found absolutely nowhere else on Earth. Its entire global population exists on this one small uninhabited rock. The wider reserve is also a critical breeding ground for species like the Cape Verde shearwater and Fia's petrel, seabirds that travel enormous distances across the open Atlantic and return year after year to this exact patch of cliff to raise their young. There's something quietly humbling about that. An entire species, an entire evolutionary story balanced on an island most maps barely bother to label. It's a reminder that Cabo Verde isn't only what you can visit. Some of its most important places exist specifically because people agreed deliberately to stay away.
Life beneath the waves. None of what you've seen so far is even the most impressive thing about these islands. Below the surface, Cabo Verde sits in genuinely warm, biologically rich waters. Temperatures between 22 and 27 degrees Celsius year-round at the crossing point of major Atlantic currents. Humpback whales pass through these waters along with dolphins, sea turtles, and an unusually rich variety of tropical fish, all moving through a seafloor shaped by reefs and volcanic seamounts. Divers here talk about an ocean that still feels, in places, genuinely undiscovered, home to endemic species like the pink spiny lobster found in these waters and almost nowhere else. And every winter and spring, humpback whales use the deep channels between islands as a migration corridor, occasionally coming close enough to shore that you don't need a boat at all, just a cliff and patience. It's easy looking at the dry, sunburned surface of these islands to assume the story of Cabo Verde is a story about scarcity. But underwater, the opposite is true. The same isolation, the same currents, the same volcanic seafloor that make the land so harsh have made the surrounding ocean into one of the most biologically generous stretches of water in the Atlantic. What holds it all together? After everything, the volcanoes, the deserts, the cloud forests,
Here's the one thing every single island shares. Every island in this archipelago is technically part of the same tiny country. But they don't feel like one place. They feel like 10 cousins who grew up in wildly different households and somehow still show up for the same family dinner. What ties them together isn't geography. It's a shared plate of cachupa, the slow-cooked corn and bean stew that's basically the national dish. A shared taste for grog, a shared language built from Portuguese and African roots, and that same aching, beautiful concept of saudade that runs through every Morna song ever written here. It's a country that was born from nothing, 10 empty volcanic rocks with no native people, no native mammals beyond a single species of bat, and turned over 5 centuries into somewhere with one of the richest, most specific cultural identities in the entire Atlantic world. Fire built these islands, wind shaped them, and the people who eventually arrived here from 3 different continents built something out of the wreckage of that history that is stubbornly, unmistakably, beautifully their own. "10 islands, 1 ocean, and somehow still so much left undiscovered." Cabo Verde. Come see it before everyone else does.